get myself sorted out. I am going to paint with gouache today. I've never done it. I just bought these yesterday. So this is the Holbein Gouache, artist gouache. So like I said, I did have some gouache earlier. I forget what brand it was, but this is the first time I've tried Holbein, and it is a artist quality, I guess. And I consented and I got opera. Normally I don't use opera because it's not light fast. So I can't use it in the original work because then I can't sell it because the color will fade. But I was very interested to see what all the fuss was about because I see so much of it online, right? So I was interested to see what color would come from it. And so yesterday I did do a quick swatch yesterday. So this is also a new book that I got. It is just a 300 GSM watercolor. I don't even think it's 100% cotton. It's just a generic brand, but you can see like this is what happens when you play with a sketchbook. I just wanted to test out the colors and just swatch them out. And I was out and about yesterday, so I didn't have like a palette or anything. Oh, I don't have a palette now. Oh, I've got the little one. I can use this. Oh, and I don't have any, what do you call it, that I need to have. Let me go and get some paper towel. That's just over here. There we go. It's when the studio is all over the place. So I wanted to try it out and see what I could get. Okay, I know what all the fuss is about with opera pink. Like the color is just, it's neon, it's amazing. So it's a bit sad that it doesn't hang around and that if it's exposed to light, it does fade. So I guess you could paint something and then make sure that it gets scanned and then you can print it and hopefully that will stay light fast. But yes, now that I've had this color, I got it in the gouache, I didn't get it in the watercolor, but the color is just so vibrant and amazing. And I'm not a pink person. I don't love pink, but I really do like the effect that this has. So I was just playing around and I was just playing with the colors that I had. I didn't put the yellow in. Most of you know I don't use a huge amount of yellow in my work, but I thought today we could just put out some of these colors and then see what kind of mixes we get with them. I am going to use my sable brushes, but I'm going to use the brushes I don't normally use because I don't want to kind of wreck my nice ones. So these are Rosemary and Co brushes. Hopefully there's a link to all my tools down in the description. So I use the travel brushes even in the studio. It's just much easier for me to do that. So come along with me and we will test. If you have used gouache before, as most of you know, I am not a gouache artist. I am a watercolor artist. So I have used them once or twice and I really did love the result, how they turned out. Because I really like that matte poster-like feel to it. And that's, for me, that's what like the appeal is. It gets this very matte, kind of very poster-like finish. But when it comes to mixing and things like that, I've got no clue. So that's what we can experiment with today. I don't have any like special palettes or anything like that specifically for the gouache yet. So what I'm going to do is, my thoughts is, this was my old travel palette that I'd taken out the watercolors and I had put in my nifty little foam palette. Let me show you. If you were in my last live, you would have seen it. Let me get it out. It is so much more handy. Here it is. It's even smaller. Look how small it is in comparison. And this is what I'm using now. I used to use this one, but I was thinking I might take the colors out of this and make this the gouache palette then. Otherwise it's just going to sit there being unused, and I don't think I need to buy extra things. I'll just use what we've got. Just cleaned it up a little bit. So it gives me a little bit of mixing space and things like that. So this is the primary yellow. I stuck with the primaries because I know how to mix, and I just wanted to see what we could get from it. This is the primary cyan. Apparently this is quite strong. And when I was playing around with it yesterday, like I literally put dots on the page and I had my water brush. That's what I showed you earlier, this one here. Like the blue just took over everything, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So I just thought I'd do a little bit of a mixing test now. Most of you, if you are familiar, I do a lot of faces, and I was trying to do this face, I mean, albeit it was only a couple of minutes, but I was trying to blend it just like it was watercolor. I was happy with kind of like the face color I could get from those three colors. But this is something that, because coming from a watercolor perspective, I don't know like how I can push the gouache just yet. So I'm kind of excited to figure it out. So we'll just put in just a little bit of water, rinse it out. One thing I do notice about the gouache is it definitely pollutes the water a lot quicker. It must be the filler that is in, or the binder or whatever you call it. So I'm just going to do a couple of swatches just to see the colours, and hopefully you can see them too if I've put it in the right place. So I've just got a couple of jars of water, just normally like I would. I chose the Holbein for one reason. I went to the art store, and this one in particular, I went yesterday, so it would have been a Monday. And for some reason, I've got a particular art store that I like. It's in the gallery, and I go there all the time, and I get everything I ever want from there. And for some reason, I just didn't look at the opening times, and it's not open on a Monday. And I was fully prepared to spend money yesterday. So once I realised that I couldn't, I couldn't spend any money, I looked up the next. See, that's quite a bright green. I looked up the next art store, and they only had Holbein gear and a couple of other oil brands. They're more oil focused. But because I was in the mood to spend money, I was like, I'll just try Holbein, which is interesting. And so here we are. Okay, that red's quite strong, so that's not quite 100% in the middle, so I'll put that next to that. That's kind of like a next secondary color. Let's try and, so if you have worked with gouache before, you know how it works. If you have any tips, please let me know. I'm all ears. See, that should have gone closer to there, I think. That should be this one here. Okay, I am struggling to get kind of a mid-orange with these two, but that's okay. That's a little bit better. So with the green, I'm going to put a little bit more yellow into there and see. So definitely you can get some nice colours, obviously, with the three primaries. I'm not the biggest fan of these three primaries, which is more like the cool primaries. I do like the warmer ones better. But here we are, so we'll work with what we got. It's more of a turquoise. So I'm just mixing the different amounts of blue and yellow, like just trying to get the secondary primaries as much as I can. And now for purple, so the blue is quite strong, so I'm going to try and be careful with how I mix it. Try and get an even number and like a good mid color for the purple. That's a good purple for me. Rinse that off. Whoops, there we go. Now let's lean it more towards blue if we can. So with more blue and just a little bit of red, it's more of an ultramarine, which is good, I suppose. And then let's go with a more violet-y kind of. So they're definitely strong pigments. They definitely mix quite well. they're quite similar. So I'm going to have to play with that a little bit better. Okay, so just from those three colours, we got all of those colours there, which is really good. And that's just like your basic mixing together. What we might try is we might try a skin colour, which is a combination of all three. So I'll pick up a little bit of the orange that we had, and already you can see there's kind of like a beige colour. Okay. That can work as like a foundation level for one skin tone. If we add a tiny bit more blue, we've got a little bit more of a shadow colour, and that can work well for like shadows in the skin tone as well. I might go back in and add a little bit more of the red yellow mixture, and a tiny bit more of the blue, a little bit more of the red, make it, that's way too much red. Sorry, it's not focusing well. Okay, and then the yellow. So just having this mixing, how to mix, is really good. Yeah, lovely. Look at those three tones that we could get. This one's leaning towards pink, this one's leaning towards purple, obviously, but they're the undertones that you normally have anyway, is that purple, blue, or red undertone. So we can get skin tones from those three as well. So you can see these are quite, what's the word, opaque. They're kind of very watery, like watercolor. And for me, it's like if I'm going to use gouache, I want the properties of gouache. I want it to be kind of pasty and postery and thick. I don't want it to be watered down and translucent. Otherwise, I'll just use watercolor. So let's have a little experiment together. What should I draw? We should draw something. Let me get my pen from my pencil rather. And for argument's sake, we might do, which I love doing because they're fun and they're good to eat, is a couple of cherries. The light can come from here. It can be dark around here. We've got another one behind it. And that darkness comes here. That can be quite pinky red. Some more spots there, and we get a couple, oops, of stalks. Oops, it's a bit thick. That's okay. So this is purely for the purpose of playing and seeing what we can come up with. Let me see that. I'll just clean up some of the mixed areas just so I've got more room on the palette if possible. All right. Da, 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 da. Now I will start, that's quite a red orange mix. So I'm going to go in with some more of the red, and I want that kind of pasty. So let's make that our base color. Let's leave the highlights. And this will dry matte. So my feelings with it drying matte finish is that if you want it to shine like in the final piece, then you can spray it with a coat of like UV, like semi-gloss spray or something like that. I tend to like that tiny shine myself. I don't like it to be super shiny. Okay. So it's kind of rough at the moment, but it will come together. Remember, all paintings are ugly for a time. Very important to remember that. We might do a bit of a face as well to see how we can render it properly and well. Let's make that a little bit rounder. Definitely got the idea of cherries there. We're leaving some highlights. So some of those I'm going to fill in with a darker color. So I'm going to go in probably with some blue and some purple. I'm going through a lot more of the paper towel with this for sure. Let's make a darker pink with this, with slight purple. And we're going to fill in some shadows. See, I'm still blending like watercolor, so I'm not 100% confident with using it as a gouache yet. And I haven't waited for it to dry, so that could also be my problem. A bit of darkness there, a little bit under here, see if that works. And this one I'll make dark because I'm imagining that this cherry is casting a shadow on this one. Let's do it dark up here as well. And see how it goes with that. So yeah, maybe I need to watch some tutorials, but it's also good to play as well, because I feel like I'm using it like a watercolor. I'm not using it like a gouache. So let's do some green and see if we can get a little bit of those stalks. And I'll add a tiny bit of red or purple just to desaturate it a little bit. Sorry, with this top camera, it keeps on focusing on my on my hand also. It's funny when you're not used to this medium, it definitely changes how you paint because I'm not used to, you know, how it goes. I'll darken up some sides of that. So darken up this side so it's not hitting the light. So it's a little bit easier to see. And then let's give that section a bit more of a... Now I haven't used any white yet, which is good. It's something that I guess I'm not used to using white. And I suppose that's where we can test those colours too. We can really dull down those colours a little bit more if we've got that option. See, because I played with it yesterday, I've contaminated it a little bit with the blue. So have to be careful about that. Make sure it doesn't... Let's pop some white on, and this will give us a different range of colors too, which would be interesting. And I should use black to kind of desaturate if I'm using the mixers properly. But we are learning here. This is the first time I've played with gouache. I have done a couple others, but I've just used it straight from the tube. I haven't been playing with like the saturations or anything like that, and I haven't been mixing them with the black or the white. So let's rinse off my brush again. And so we'll leave those to dry and then I'll come back to those. And let's try and see what colours we can get when we're mixing in the white. See, I'm doing it, I put water in it. I'm just so used to putting water instead of picking up the colour itself. So that's something that we're going to have to learn, Keturah, how to do. Yeah, it's a completely different, I feel like it's the same, you know, tone, colour, but you get such a different result when you add white into it. It's interesting. I think it'd be good for me to play with pastel colours a little bit more because I don't use pastels in my work at all. I am not a pastel-y kind of person. But, you know, even that yellow, I like that. I like that. It's more lemony. Maybe a bit more white will make it a little bit more better. Interesting. Find that the magenta is what really shines with the white. Is you definitely can see, oops, sorry. You definitely can see that it just turns pink. It's a very girly pink. It's a little bit more water, it's a bit too dry. Interesting. Sorry, it's off camera for some of you because I immersed in the moment. Whoops, there goes the other book off the bench. Okay, so we've got that. So I'm going to use some of the pink on the cherries and see how it goes for layering. Yeah, it does seem to layer, which is a good thing. And if I want to add some more depth, I can use the black, I suppose. I'm not a big fan of using black in my work, but here we are. That works. That can work. That's good. All right. Let's bang out some of this Opera Rose again because it's quite an incredible colour. Let's see what happens when we put it behind the red cherries, the pink cherries. I do like gouache for backgrounds. I've done that before where I've painted with watercolour. It's just so vibrant. Like it's hard to, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but like I've seen a lot of Opera Rose videos, obviously that's why I ended up buying it. It seems to be a very trendy colour at the moment, especially like people use it to put underneath the paintings. Just surprises me, like the neonness of it. It is very neon. There's an abstract artist that I follow on Instagram. I think he's from Japan, Ken Kurigio or something, Kurigio. And he uses this opera pink in such a great way. I really love it. And sometimes I use like something similar in my abstracts, but he always just puts just a tiny dot of it in the right place and it just makes everything pop. Maybe I should ask him how. See if he'll answer my message. Like how it goes with light fastness. So I think it's too strong. Like it's definitely too strong for this painting. But it's good to experiment and play. So I might decide that this is going to be my gouache sketchbook. I'm going to play with gouache in this one. Am I saying it right? I don't even know. Let's put some. Okay. So now the cherries, I feel like they're too dark. There's not enough contrast in there. Let's put some white and see if that will make any difference. I've left the white of the page, which is what you normally do in watercolor. But with gouache, you can go over with white, which is something that I'm not used to doing. So interesting, interesting, interesting. Another thing, I'm just going to test it out here. I do have another color that I bought from Holbein because this one is the insoindaline. I don't know, how do you pronounce that? I have to look at it properly. Let me have a look. It is insoindaline. Yellow Deep. I got this because it was a specific pigment color. I don't think it's got it. Yeah, PY1110, which is equivalent, I think, to the Winsor Newton Yellow Ochre, which I don't have in this palette. I have it in my other palette. Where is my other palette? I think it might be in the next room. I can go get it. That's okay. We have, so I'm just going to test this out just to see what color comes out of it as well. So this is actually a watercolor. It's not a gouache color. It is water. Oh, there's my other palette. Thank you. So I bought it because it was the same pigment number as my Winsor Newton yellow ochre, I'm pretty sure. I'll double check. Raw sienna. Have I just mixed that up completely? I probably have, because my brain. That's a nice colour. Come on. That's beautiful. Look at that. That's really nice, actually. I like that. What a lovely yellow. I like it because it can be very transparent and very bright, but it can be quite deep, like orangey. And I like the warmer colours. So let's compare it. It's probably a completely different pigment because it is a completely different pigment. What am I thinking, honestly? Okay, so I bought this one hoping it would be this one and they're completely different colours. That's funny. That's all right. I'm interested to see how this one mixes as a, what am I talking about? As a skin colour. I'll just do that quickly because that's why I bought it too, because it's the skin colours that I'm interested in, just especially with some of the faces I have been drawing. Because I tend to mix my skin colours as I go. I might just pick up a little bit from the page here. And then a little bit of the red, which is the magenta. It's a nice peachy colour. And with the red, it's a little bit more like the yellow ochre of Winsor Newton. If I add a tiny bit of ultramarine, then that's going to dull it down just a little bit extra. Yeah. You can see I can get some really lovely skin colours just by mixing those three colours. Beautiful, beautiful. Probably a little tad running towards the orange than maybe you'd want, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so I'm a little bit stuck now about what to use the gouache for. Just because it just feels like such a foreign entity to me to use. So what I might do is I might just tape up some areas because everything looks good with the border. So this is the sketchbook. Like normally, like at home, no one would see your sketchbook, but I think it's important, especially, I guess, as a professional artist, that people see that you don't always have perfect drawings. Your sketchbook is a place to play around and mess it up, basically. Play with the colours, experiment, leave the final pieces for your good stuff, the good paper. So just taping it up so it's fairly even. That's not 100% even, but again, it's a sketchbook, no one cares. It's fine, and I'll divide it up. And we're just going to have a bit of a play and see what comes of it. I'm a big fan of abstract. That was the only thing I would ever do for the rest of my life. I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to go with a bit of a purple theme here. Just love playing with paint. I love just doing random things in the sketchbook. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to get some of that white and see what happens when I mix it within. I think it's important too to experiment a little bit with the medium before kind of deep diving into all the tutorials about it, because then you can feel a little bit frustrated with it and it's not working and this is not how I imagined it. But it gives you like a really good indication of the pigment, like, and how you move your brush and what you do and stuff like that. And then you can refine it a little bit better. You can go in and say, okay, I tried what they told me, but maybe I needed more water, or maybe I needed less water, or something like that. See, I'm still working, oops, sorry. I'm still working this like it's a watercolor, which is an interesting, but at the same time, that's not necessarily a bad thing too, because I use watercolor for me like it's acrylic, because that's where I came from. I used to paint with acrylics, and then I switched to watercolor, and I was super heavy-handed with the watercolor because I was used to being heavy-handed with the acrylics. And that's kind of dictated my style a little bit. I've got very heavy color usage in my watercolors. And I like that. Like, that's okay to have too, I think. Not I think, I know, it's okay to have. It is okay. So just playing again with colors, mixing on the page. Interesting, interesting. That's kind of cool. So I've stuck with the blues. Oops. I do avoid that yellow like the plague. I really do. Let's see what else is in there. More of that opera rose a little bit, and see if we can. That's quite dry on the palette. All right, let's try green. I've been avoiding it. Let's not avoid it any longer. So I've got plenty of yellow there. I can use that. It's amazing how much gets stuck in the brush. So the brush, in case you're not sure if this is the first time, see how this is the bristles that we're using, the ones that we can see. And then it's kind of got it clamped there. But those bristles, if it's a good brush, should come all the way back to here. So this is the body of the brush. And then the bristles basically are this long. And they're kind of glued at the bottom and then crimped on so that it sticks to the handle. And then that ferrule there should all be bristles. And then the part that you see is just that part that comes out there. And they shape it and things like that with that clamping. So a lot of times when you use a brush, the paint will actually go up into the bristles, into this part where you can't rinse it. That's why it's good to rinse your brushes. And especially when it comes to watercolor brushes, this is like, if it's a real hair brush, synthetic brushes aren't as fussy, I guess, but just leaving them sitting in water like that, it's like, can you imagine if you just had your head in water for, hours on end? What would happen to your hair? And it's similar to the brushes. What would happen to the hair of the brush if it was just sitting in water constantly? So that is a good thing to think about. See, that's already dried up quite a lot on the palette, so that's good to know. They dry quite quickly. So let's get some of this. Let's get that white. It's got a little bit of purple in it. Definitely not used to it not spreading. I am on like a very dry piece of paper. Like if I wet the paper first, like I would maybe normally do in watercolor, it might be very different. Oh, I just mixed in some of the opera rose with that yellow, and there's a very bright orange that came out of there. It's interesting. Let's get a little bit more of that. See what, oh, a bit too much. That's okay. Oops. do like the brushy marks of it. I like it. Now the black has kind of dried on the pen. I'm just going to put that in there and see. It is super rough, but that's fine too. Like, this is a place to experiment and see what the pigment does. I already know, I feel, I'm going to use a lot of these colors as background colors for my watercolors. I seem to like the way the watercolors are going better. I do like that though. I like how it's, yeah. Interesting. Is it a mess? Yes. Does it look like anything? No. Does it have to? No, it doesn't. But let's peel this away. This is kind of the fun bit because then it actually looks like a painting. It's like he really tried to make it happen like that. Okay, how do I know that this isn't 100% cotton paper? Because the tape lifted the paper. A lot of people ask, you know, what kind of tape do you have? It's not always just the tape, it's the combination of the both. So that's kind of cool. Just an experiment with the colors and trying to figure out the colors and things like that. I definitely do love the opera rose. Oh, I'm not a pink person. I'm like resisting, but it's so bright and beautiful and shiny and amazing. So yeah, thanks for joining me on this little, it was just an experiment today. I just wanted to test out the colors, and most of the time I bring you guys along for the ride anyway. So yeah, I will have to test gouache out a little bit more. It's an interesting medium. I think I will, like, these are colors I don't use in my regular palette, so I will be changing these out, and I might get a couple of bigger pans and then make a dry gouache palette or something like that, and then experiment with it a little bit further down the line. So very good. So I've got a video coming out, I think tomorrow, another one. It's a watercolor video, so you can tune in for that. But in the meantime, happy painting, and we'll see you next time.